Hello and welcome back to the Becoming Relentless podcast. I am your host, Noa McCabe, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host,
Danielle Kissenberger.
Woo!
Woo!
And today we gave you guys so much information, value, some funnies, some vulnerability. We did a Q&A. We answered your questions, what you guys wanted to know. So,
And the last one, we twisted it into our own.
yes.
Whoops.
We appreciate y'all, and we'll see you inside. So today we are going to do question and answer. We're going to answer your questions. We had question boxes up. And funnily enough, I got questions for
Wait. Did you say funnily?
Yeah. Is that not a word?
Is funnily not a word?
Funnily?
Is that a you would probably know it's a word more than me.
I think it's
That's
actually
the fourth word I've learned this in 2 days.
I honestly think it's probably just funny enough and not like funnily enough. I think I made it up. I was just going to try to cover it up.
I know. And I was like, wait a second.
I did learn a new word last night, though. Ionospheric. It's like a layer of the atmosphere.
Okay. I was going to say it has to do something with spirituality because it sounds like it would. Dude, okay, off topic. Billy Carson. Billy, I think.
Yeah.
Carson.
Who is that?
So he's big into like spirituality, like religion, like Egypt, like way back in times. Like I don't think it's necessarily religion. That's a bad way. He just knows a lot about how religion was made. Not necessarily. Well, he like all of it.
How it originated. How it got started.
Like how it came up. Like the atoms of the like how the world like got developed. The universe, like the 11 dimensions. Is that what it is? Yeah,
something like that.
And so yeah, rabbit hole yourself in there.
Billy Carson, just go. Well, my phone's listening, so it'll start suggesting his videos to me.
Billy,
yeah,
pizza. I'm just kidding.
I'm serious. Like,
I need. This is like that's goofy.
Sometimes stuff that I say shows up in an ad,
100%.
And I'm like, they're listening.
It's come to a point where it's like, okay, that's enough. Like, you need to chill. Like, I understand, but no.
Like, if I'm scrolling and I see an ad for something that I just talked about, I was like, okay, it's time for me to go outside. I'm going to just...
It's weird.
Yeah.
No, but it's weird because, okay, do you feel like it happens when you talk? Or is it only when you, like, even if you, like, type something? Like, it all is connected, obviously.
I feel like I've mostly noticed it when I talk because, like...
Which is interesting.
I was talking to somebody... about like a K-hole.
Okay.
And then an ad on Instagram came up for ketamine therapy like 2 hours later. And I was like...
2 hours?
Yeah. I was just like, Instagram needs to chill. Or whoever's in here just...
That's so interesting.
And I remember verbally saying it. So it was like... It was almost like...
That's interesting. Yeah. Ketamine therapy is popular in Austin, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably most popular here. Just kidding. I haven't done enough research to make that comment.
It's very popular here. I know Arizona as well.
That makes sense.
I'm sure like the more liberal states probably, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. Yeah.
That is funny.
I only know little things about,
all the stuff, all that jazz.
Yes.
Goofy. Awesome.
All right. What question do you want to start with?
The one that needs, honestly, this is not a good, I'm sorry. Nobody cares about my feedback except for the one person that asked.
And the one person that asked was in my question box.
Not mine.
What was your feedback from Nationals? That was 6 weeks ago.
Dude, is it 6? I think it's coming up on 7.
Really?
I think, yeah. Time be flying. You be running a race and it's just gone. Should be 7 with how I'm looking.
Or about 17.
Just kidding. Actually, I'm going to answer this in 2. I'm going to answer the question, then I'm going to dive into something else. Okay. Yeah. First, my Nationals feedback, which I did not ask the judges for, is, but honestly, because everyone around me already, like every single person, including myself, already knew what the feedback was. And what they're going to tell me too is you're too soft, hard, like more pop, like more density. And on stage, it looks like you need more density in the glutes, but I had the density as the peak that was the issue. And so you look too soft. Anyways, so that basically was it. It's mostly the backside.
Yeah, I would say it was just your backside. Yeah. Like your front shot was pretty good. It was like front was good. back, it was literally just glute hamstring. Like it just wasn't as sharp as it was Wednesday.
Yeah.
And like we saw that. So it was kind of like, yeah.
Lesson learned, just keep it stable if I ever.
Lessons learned.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I know people are curious and also like I understand their curiosity. And at the same time, it's kind of like, well, we can just look at the pics.
Yeah.
I think like with newer competitors.
Don't look at the pics. It's embarrassing. I'm just kidding. No, but seriously.
It's not embarrassing. You looked beautiful.
Thank you.
You rocked it.
Well, it's just like not what you.
Like,
it's funny because you go like, well, my like pinned looks different than like NPC Google website.
Right.
Did you know Google is a number?
Google
is a number.
Yeah. Isn't it like the biggest?
Yeah.
Somewhere in my brain, I feel like I heard that before. Like
from
a
Billy.
fun fact.
I did learn it from
Google.
Billy.
Google Infinity.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically just to soften the back, peak went south Wednesday on. And the whole experience was amazing. The people, everything that was there. National's best show, in my opinion, for a national show. And they're going to keep it in Texas, right?
I think they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is exciting because now Texas has a national show.
Yeah. Okay. My second part, that wasn't a question, but I'm going to. So when I said 17 weeks post show, how I look. So I definitely didn't. I never reversed like to a T.
Yeah. But
I also, actually, this was the first time. Of course, everyone's relationship with food like goes up and down, but this is the first time where it wasn't that bad. Like, or it wasn't even bad. It was just like normal of like, hey, you're going to have to work on your relationship with food a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you were just prepping for 30 weeks. So now I'm entering like a gut health protocol, which, yeah, I'm excited because looking back after every show, like every time I've had like I'm not depressed, but a depressive like dips of like just sad thoughts here and there, it's always due to estrogen, like the way every symptom like points to estrogen dominance and like really low progesterone.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, wow, like duh. Like now I get like I'm excited to work on that.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, did you get blood work done?
Not yet.
Not yet. It's kind of soon. Like I wouldn't expect that you did, but it'd be interesting to see if like your progesterone was actually low or if the ratio of your estrogen and progesterone like put you more towards estrogen dominance.
I will say too, so when I got off birth control, I think I told you this. I told someone this. I had cysts on my ovaries and my progesterone was like trash, so they put me on a pill, which probably was a fake progesterone pill
to try and like kickstart it. Or something.
Which if it's fake, like you're not kickstarting it, you're just saying, "Settle down, honey." Like,
here you go.
Yeah, and so I think that also probably has played a part the entire time of like your body just doesn't know how to make it on its own. Like it needs some help when you're in a situation like a prep.
Well, yeah. Especially because you competed like so many times since that too, like since 17, since having the progesterone pills. So like every time you might have been putting yourself more towards estrogen dominance because your progesterone was already naturally low. So yeah, be interesting. But you're going to get it all optimized. It's going to be good.
I'm very excited. It makes you feel good.
Yeah.
I like the confidence. Like I understand like your body, your confidence isn't everything, but it does make you feel way better. Like when you feel confident in your skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also like doing something about it, like having a gut protocol, it's almost a relief because you're like, okay, I know in the next few weeks when I stick to this protocol, I'm going to start feeling so much better. Like, because you're like treating something. So yeah. Yay. Gut protocol.
The cool part of it is it's mostly just supplements and like the just being aware of what you're putting in your mouth, but I still get to intuitively eat and do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which I told, like, not that I can't follow a system. I don't want to. With the stage of where I'm at in my life. Like, I want to separate from all of that.
I actually really understand that because I thought I wanted like structure and a plan again. And so I had my coach like write me up, like meal plan, training, everything, like everything. And it's been so hard for me to follow because I truly just like don't. I have that resistance where I like look at my meal plan and I'm like, those foods are good. Like they're good meals. And I'm like, but I don't want to eat that. I don't want to sit here and track. And so it's been interesting because you like start to be more aware of that. And as a competitor, there's like that side of me that's like, no, I have to be serious. But then there's this like other side of me that's just like, I truly don't want that. Like I tracked for so long. You understand, like we tracked for so long over and over and over again.
Dude, how many years has it been?
It's coming up on 7 years of competing.
That's exactly.
And it's just like.
Exactly. Like you've been measuring gram, like not 24/7, but for 7 years. Like it's not, and people who are new too, they're going to be like, oh my God, they're not tracking. Like, dude, we've been doing this for 7 years. We already know what's like, we know how many carbs are in this fucking banana.
Yeah.
And bagel and the buffin at the Trader Joe's down the street. Like,
J. Prom chocolate cake.
Yeah. Like we already know what's in it. Yeah. We don't need to like, you know.
Yeah. And I actually think what we're doing is going to help with the longevity because the sport and the stage is always there. It's never going to leave. Whereas like our relationship with food and the experiences that we want to have and just like the life that we're living, it's not necessarily something to be taken for granted. Like, not that you should take the stage for granted, but you just know it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Versus like where you're at today and like the experiences you could have eating with people or like even taking yourself out. You don't know if you'll be able to do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
I feel that. And I agree. Like that's why I don't want to compete this year. Not for the food, not for like going out. It's just somewhere. So like you get so tied up into it. And then like, I don't want it to be part of my identity. Like it's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like trying to almost like grow.
I want an identity shift, but like, cause like I feel that happening. So it's like holding on to something that like a relationship.
That like isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's like gone forever. It doesn't have to like, it has to be completely kicked out. It's just like, you don't have to hold on so tight.
Yeah. And realizing when you feel that inside. Cause something that I learned too is I'll feel uncomfortable or like resistance. And then I try to fix it instead of just letting it go. Like I'm like, oh, well, like I can still make this person like me if I do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no, if y'all don't like each other, just it's fine. Like let it go. Let it go.
I think that's too part of like you and I too, like people pleasing, especially with women, but understanding like not everyone's gonna like agree or like you, and it's okay to disappoint people because they're not you. They don't know your story. They don't.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day too, what I've learned with that is like, yes, you're gonna disappoint people, and yes, it's gonna hurt in the moment, especially if you love them. But everyone's so selfish living in their own world that it really doesn't affect them to the extent of like what you feel.
Yeah. And you have to put yourself first. Like you have to live for yourself and not for other people. Do you?
Boom.
Yeah. Wow, that was a great answer to the first question.
These feedback.
These feedback from nationals. Oh my God.
That is awesome. Let's go through the list in order.
Okay. So tips for growing socials.
Ooh, dude, fuck yeah,
that's a good question. Yeah.
Oh my God. Thank you. Whoever asked this, dude, sit down. You deserve to
pull up a chair. Yeah.
They're like,
they asked it on the anonymous box, which I was
really
sad about. Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, you Bill.
I feel like I kind of know who it might be, but I'm not 100% sure. Because I've had conversations, because I hit 10K.
Yeah.
And I had like a couple people like message me and they were like, congrats. I was like, thank you. But I think maybe like one of them, I'm like, maybe they asked this question.
I got way too excited. So I'm realizing now, okay, just to break it down for y'all too. Well, if you know who this person is, I guess it helps knowing the person because you can tell who asked if they want to grow for like influencer reasons or like conversion reasons.
That's what I was thinking too.
Like client conversion isn't the same as influencer.
So I guess what are your tips for...
Ooh, I got tips, bro.
For somebody who has like a brand and they're trying to sell something on Instagram. And then we can also touch on the influencer later.
Wow. That's our best question yet.
Great question.
Yeah. So tips to honestly, dude, I'm gonna if you want to be an influencer and just like get sponsorships or a following, I'm going to shit on you right now. I'm so sorry. But I'm just saying, like, okay, what do you do? Like, you get your following, you get the sponsorships, and then what? Like, you're not going to get paid enough to make a living. Like, you're not. Like, you can wish for it, you can dream for it. You're gonna burn out because you don't have a purpose, and all you're doing is taking pictures of your body or yourself or the products. And people are like, I don't even know you. Like, I'm not gonna buy your product. People buy products based on the human.
Yeah.
People buy the service and the coach based on the human. So someone, for example, like Kelly has what, 6,000?
Mhm.
She's like, for a while there, honestly, for a while she was like the most successful coach that I knew, but she had the least amount of following out of all of us.
Yeah, like her
Yeah.
conversion rate of her following was very
Yeah.
high. Like
Yeah.
people who followed her were interested in her.
Mhm. And part of that too, so if you want to grow I'm going to go based off like business. You want to grow your business off social media through content. Stories are your number one best friend, and it's not going to happen after a week. Like, for example, 6 weeks, and then you'll start seeing conversion happen. So I'm saying a talking story every day, and relatable and like educational is great. Have that in your content, but when you're talking to someone, your audience cares about them. They don't care about what you did for your client. They don't care about Rachel, who has an amazing like 30-pound weight loss journey. They don't care about Rachel at all. If you're showing transformation at Rachel, they want to know what can you do for them? Like, that's why they're following you, for inspiration or educational reasons of how you're affecting them in some way. That's why they're following you. And so when you're speaking to your audience, whether that be in a reel or a story or caption, you have to direct it towards the audience. With that, like, stories are, again, your number one best friend, because people don't, 30%, 10%, I don't know, see your actual posts on your algorithm. And so, like, a lot of your following doesn't even see your content post-wise, but the stories, they do. On top of that, that's where you can create community without feeling like you're fatiguing your people by posting 24/7. Yeah. And relatable stories are my favorite to post because, again, they're buying you as a human, not necessarily your service. Noah and I did the same thing. The only reason why you're going to hire Noah versus me is the personality, the person, right? And that goes with any coach. So when you make content, you have to understand that you're selling yourself, but you're also only making the post to help the person who's watching it.
Yeah.
So pain points, like, what can you do to help your audience?
Yeah. And I think for a while, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but for a while, I didn't want a niche. Like, I didn't want to pick a niche because I was like, well, I just want to help people, like as many people as I can. And then I realized it's better to focus on that dream client, like whoever it is that you want to help the most. So I know a really popular niche is like a busy mom, because there are millions
and
of
everyone's busy, bro.
out there.
Every single person's busy.
Right.
You're an at-home mom. You're a mom who
working mom,
like you're a mom that doesn't do anything. You sit on the couch. You're still busy for some reason. Like,
there's always something to do, and like that goes for everybody, for sure. But being able to identify your target audience and that dream client, and then every time you post, having them in mind, is going to be a better approach than just like broad posting. Because that's what I used to do, is just like broadly post. But now that I've identified this is the kind of person that I want to work with, and I mold my posts around that and my message around that, it's become a lot easier, because now I know who I'm speaking to. Like, in my mind, I am speaking to a specific archetype person.
Yeah.
And
man,
I've just found that it's generated a lot more success.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah. I do think too, I think you have to be niched until you get to a point. No, I think even if you say you're not niche, you're still niched based off your personality. I know a girl who podcasts, who is, her thing is like the no niche, like niched. Something like, there was a thing like no niche, like something. And it's like, even though you're not niched, you're still niched based off your personality. There is like, if you're not niched, you have such a strong personality. I don't even know her, but like based off like what I can see, like
Yeah.
you click on a person's page, you already know what they're about. Another tip, if they click on your page, you have direction on who you are and what they're they're entering, right, on the page. But you click on like an individual's page who claims they're like the no niche person, she's still very niched because of the extreme extrovert femininity like she has.
Yeah. And that that no niche is almost like a rebellious type of thing.
Yeah.
So you're gonna attract
There's
people who
also
want
science to it.
Yeah.
That's
it's super
that's it.
interesting. Super interesting.
Yeah, but I agree with that, especially if you're trying to build a business or content.
Yeah.
Dude, no offense, don't just build your content, build a business. Again, what is that gonna, you're not gonna make any money, you're not gonna live a financially successful life by growing content just to get sponsorships. And it's boring.
Yeah.
Like there's a few, like I get Gabby Fortune, I think she's like done pretty good. I don't know, based off what I've been told. There's some other people, but like
there was a article that came out that I just read talking specifically about this. Most influencers do not make enough monthly income from their like influencing and their posts and their sponsored stuff to live off of, like not even close.
No, exactly.
And so for a lot, like it's like influencing being a full-time job is just not very realistic.
You know what I also found out? This is kind of off topic, but a really high percent, I think it was like in the 90s, 90%, whatever, Americans have less than $1,000 in their bank account. Like I did not.
I'm pretty sure most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck.
Which is like insane to think about.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into that. There's a book that you'd probably like. I just read it. It's called The Psychology of Money. But it talks about how most of the way that we handle money is like still very new. So like even trading stock, investing, having IRAs, all of these things that we just kind of accept as the norm are still super, super new, like 1900s. Like they haven't been around for hundreds of years. So people genuinely don't know how to handle money. And it's not so much like a logical thing, it's a behavioral thing. Like depending on how you grew up, where you grew up, how your parents talked about money, like all of that stuff influences how you then handle your own money. And then of course there's like the societal stuff. Like it's a really interesting book. I think you would like it. I learned a lot. And I still have like a couple chapters to go. I didn't finish it yet. But it has opened my eyes to like, okay, I'm not the only one that like doesn't quite understand what is happening here. Like why I have 2 full-time jobs and still am like not able to go do certain things, or I have my car payment. Like I'm like, what's happening with my money? Like where is it going? And like being able to understand my own behaviors has like really shifted how I guess interact with money, and realizing that it's like it's not about getting rich quick, it's about building wealth over time and looking at it in like 20-year segments, because someday I'm going to be 60 and I need to have like, if I want to retire, I need to have like actual wealth built up. So like instead of thinking like in the present moment, like, oh, I want to go get a coffee and it's like $15. That $15 could
coffee.
be
Get it? I guess
that's a large latte from Codependent. That's probably like $8 actually with tip. I'm exaggerating.
They have sizes,
but like
that would be sick, bro.
Well, I ordered a cortado.
Those are small,
and they were like, it was small, and then the latte
is a cortado, like, anyways.
It's like that much milk versus a latte is like that much milk.
Dude,
a cortado is like a shot of milk, and then a latte is like half milk. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyways, if you guys are interested in like financial stuff in any way, I highly recommend The Psychology of Money. I heard about that book from the Diary of a CEO podcast, and it's been incredibly helpful in just like bringing awareness to how you can set yourself up for success financially and not be like everyone else.
Don't be scared. Like, yeah, scared. But I don't want to get, there's a scarcity around money, and like you can dive into like why that is on your own time. Like
we could talk about that like
yeah.
in the future too.
Yeah.
Like energetics and stuff around it. Let's do the next question. Next question. Okay.
One thing you're excited for this year.
Whew.
Just one.
I know.
Evil.
I kind of want to like cheat the question a little bit and do like a broad one, because I think the one thing I'm most excited for this year is improving. And that's like improving myself, improving my relationships, my friendships, my relationship with God and my faith, improving as a coach, a human, a bodybuilder, like all the different things. So that's like my thing. Improving, improvement, being better. That's what I'm most excited for.
We love it. Whoa. Okay. My one thing would be, man, there's so many. If I had to pick, dude, one is evil. I'm just gonna pick something I'm excited for, is like growing my own femininity, because that's gonna push me as a woman. And I'm really, I've been looking for. It's not so much. Yes, it's the tools, but it's more so the feeling within yourself that you can actually like, evolve. Yay! Thank you for asking the question.
Yeah. What's one thing you guys are excited for this year?
Drop them in the comments.
Let's see. We got some really cool questions.
Who is your longest friend and why? Honey, you're asking. I dropped out of school and I was like, homeschool.
Homeschool. Gosh.
My longest friend. Oh, I have it.
Who's your longest friend?
Justin.
And why?
Well, that's an interesting question to ask. I feel,
yeah.
Backstory on like my whole entire friendships. Just like I feel like mostly, I think it's for anyone, not just females. But elementary to middle to high school is like a different, and then college. Well, I didn't really I didn't go to college. I wouldn't. But I feel like most of the time, I feel like your group that schooling time like evolves and changes.
Yeah, I would say like for sure my friend groups like always evolved and changed. I think, who's my longest friend? Bailey would be from like college on.
Yeah.
I would actually say my longest friend is Stephanie Hammond, and we became friends in elementary school. And then we went to the same middle school, and we would walk together to middle school every day. And then we went to separate high schools. But she's one of those friends that like we don't talk very often, but when we do, it's like nothing's changed. Like not in a nothing's changed as in like
relationship to connection.
Right. Like we just pick up where we left off. And her family used to take me on like trips with them too, and those are like just really special. I feel like they included me in their family, and not that my family didn't take trips, but I feel like my family's priorities weren't like vacations and trips and stuff. It was other things. And like her family, they'd go to like Big Bear or Yosemite or just like these cool road trips, these cool places, and they would include me. So I feel like I just have very special memories with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say Stephie's probably my longest standing friend. But like the group that we had, because like we have our little friend groups, that's definitely changed and evolved.
It's
like
funny how it changes.
Yeah.
It's always. Do you ever do this? Sometimes I'll like see on Facebook. It's usually Facebook. I don't know why, but I'll see like a friend that like I grew up with. And it's like, oh, I wonder what they're doing. And you like click in, you see what's happening.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah. I think that's so interesting. I love doing that.
I do too.
And it's cool too, because like since you knew your friends back then, so like where your personalities weren't as developed, or of course you're always evolving. But man, in high school too, I feel like high school is a really pivotal. Well, even as a toddler, you see how the personalities change, like every season of life.
Yeah. When I was a kiddo to like each stage. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like that question though. That's interesting. It definitely made me think. Oh, this is a good one. I feel like people are going to perk their ears up with this. So, why do women tend to jump onto Anavar instead of TRT, aka testosterone? I think I do want to put a little caveat here. So, when people say TRT, that's like you got your blood work done, you talked to your doctor or your coach or your medical provider, and y'all agreed that you need replacement therapy versus using Anavar or testosterone for bodybuilding. I just think the cool thing now to say is like, I'm on TRT, but like the reality is you're choosing to use testosterone for bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that can have crossover, but I just think there's been people who don't want to outright say I'm on PEDs. So instead they mask it as I'm on TRT.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
I just think like socially it's more acceptable to say I'm on TRT versus saying, oh, I used test during my contest prep.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the question. So why do women tend to use Anavar over TRT?
First of all, for my own experience too, I wouldn't ever consider, I would take that back. I would always consider Primo Anavar first before test, but also it's considering the dosage for test versus Primo and Anavar. The dosage for test is way smaller versus you get more out of Anavar and Primo for what you're, in my opinion, for, I don't want to say it. Let me word this better. If you are looking for the effects of a PED, testosterone, I would say, is I don't want to say more dangerous, but more, you have to be more aware of the actual dose that you're putting into your body just because, well, not just because. One of the reasons is because of the dosage being so small, it's easy to misdose and then be taking way more than you think. And because, like, I know 2 people who have taken like triple the amount on accident.
Oof.
2 females.
Yeah.
And like at the time they're like, I wonder why like I'm like growing so fast. Like it was all yippee and amazing, but it's like, dude, your negative side effects are like very heightened.
They're also going to triple.
Yeah.
They're just gonna,
like everything triples, especially with tests. Like as a female, you don't need to be taking that much.
No.
Your body doesn't need to. Testosterone, the reason why guys have like such manly voices and beard hair, testosterone, like,
and also like their traits, like their characteristics, because we've spoken on that previously where it's like when a woman takes testosterone, you're going to feel more direct in your decision making, you're going to feel more assertive, more aggressive. Not that those are solely masculine traits, but they are more associated with men. And as a woman, when you take that, like not only are you going to have like the masculization effects physically, like maybe your jaw squaring, hair growth, your voice, like all of that, you're also going to feel like internally more masculine, like more of that directness. Something that I thought too when I read this question was like it's, let me rephrase that. The first thing I thought of was the injecting versus taking a pill. So Anavar, I think, is more popular with women, especially like bikini athletes. It's more popular because it's an oral steroid. Whereas if you have a needle phobia or if you don't like pinning yourself or whatever, like injecting, then that's how you do testosterone, right? And so I think there's multiple factors, but one, Anavar is very popular, like it's known as a fitness model drug, and it's also advertised to a lot of people as like not having as many side effects, which I don't necessarily agree with, but like you said, the dosing with Anavar is much easier than test.
I will too on that too. I was just like my first PD, I was like, let's go with the pill, not inject. But now if I were to do anything in the future, I don't want to take a pill. Like I don't want it oral. I would only inject. And part of that too is just because it's going to go through your liver if you take it oral. But also, I just don't like taking pills for some reason. Like, I feel more comfortable injecting than, which is totally different than when I first ever started competing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of competitors go through that cycle as well.
Yeah.
I will say, like, obviously with either use of, or with a use of any drug, there are going to be consequences, and just being aware of those consequences, being aware of your own boundaries. I've had conversations with my athletes who express interest in PEDs, just making sure that they're informed. And I ask them, what are your boundaries? And if you don't know, you need to write them down and lay them out and be very firm in them, because I also think what tends to happen in contest prep is you get tunnel vision and you might loosen on boundaries that you set previously. So I know, like, personally for me, when I started competing, I didn't understand like what was what. I didn't have a good grasp on the consequences. And obviously, like, as I got more seasoned, I just wished that somebody had sat me down and talked me through, like, this is what Anavar does, this is the side effects, this is what Primo does, this is the side effects, like positive and negative, and just like went through. And obviously there's also personal responsibility of like informing yourself. But when you have a coach, I think it's also communicating, hey, I would like some more info.
Yeah.
So just
I'm
having
surprised
open
that didn't happen.
communication.
Yeah. Always ask questions.
Yeah. But I personally think a big reason is like what we touched on is just like the injecting versus the pill. Like, more women are going to opt for taking a pill than wanting to inject themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But you just have to understand what that's going to do internally. Like you mentioned, the liver and everything.
Yeah.
Anyways, next question. These next questions are really good. They're exciting.
Okay, sorry, I was reading I was too ahead.
No, you're good.
Why are men and women's sex patterns so distinctly different?
Well,
I wish she could. I want to like dive into different parts of it.
Yeah.
Why are women's sex patterns? I think she's basing it off the PD questions.
Oh, really?
What do you think she's basing it off? So I was back and forth. I want to answer it in a different way.
Yeah, I do too. So I thought the question was like actually just like talking about like sex. Like, I thought it was like why, like, what are the differences between men and women?
I want to dive into the masculine and feminine energy, like, more so versus the personally. But you can answer it in whatever way you want.
Okay, I'll do my answer, but then I want to hear your answer of like the energies.
Yes.
So with the question, it was why are men and women's sex patterns so distinctly different? And in my head, I thought it was talking about like the biological. So with men, like we just talked about, they have higher testosterone, so they have more of a sex drive generally. And the way that I look at it is biological. So women, biologically, we have more of a reproductive burden. So we are expected to bear the child, go through childbirth, breastfeed, take care of this child until they're adults and like able to function on their own. And because of that, we are wired to be more selective about who we partner with. I think that with men, they're wired to want to just reproduce as much as possible because it's like a survival thing. Like there's like evolutionary psychology, like biological functions. And I also think like in our society, there's these gender roles, which there's like the traditional gender roles that are like pushed upon us or influence us from the time that we're young to now. And that also has an effect on our sex patterns. So like as a woman, if you have a lot of sex, if you're more sexually free, you may be perceived socially differently than a man who engages in the same behavior. And I'm not going to say my opinion or right or wrong, but I just think that that's an interesting concept, that there are these gender roles, that a man can do this, but a woman can't without having a different perception.
Yes.
Interesting. Anyways.
That was a good enter to the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like that kind of like, that kind of
Segue
connects into,
yeah.
So what is your thoughts?
Yeah. So love it. I'm glad you touched on that. I feel like that's definitely probably the alley that she wanted to be answered. I wanted to talk about more so my experience based off what I've learned within the, like, what men usually, not always, sometimes seek in a woman is more so, in a relationship format, is more so like the safety feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And from my experience, so I don't want this to be like people are like exact, but within men and women, most of the time men want and women want the safety. Like, you want safety within the relationship that you have and your partner. But for example, I used to think that my partner needed to find the same aspects of being pushed in the same ways that he was from his friends. That's not at all it. Within my experience, the partner, usually the reason why they're with you isn't because you need to be a copy of their friends, right? They're friends they're friends for a reason. Like, even females and males being friends, the friend is a friend in the role of the friend for a reason. If, like, you're the female in the relationship for a reason because of what you provide for the person. You don't need to change what you provide. Usually men want safety in a relationship in a more empathetic way, an emotional way, but women want that too. So having that safe place within the relationship, giving that to the other person, is like being open-hearted, which I think is very important. But I know when I was like first getting into dating, I was like, oh my God, I need to push him and I need to like be
like, I need to
like
act
this figure. And it's like, that's not it at all. Actually, it's the opposite. Like, yeah. I think whenever you're dating too, this is definitely not what she meant to ask, but it's important to like understand, and this just takes experiences. Also, it's not that I have like a ton of experience. It also takes you observing from the outside, like having different perspectives of different relationships, poly, open, to get like monogamous, like researching and understanding every different type of like female want and male want, even if even if that's not you.
like different
I think
dynamics.
Perspectives and dynamics. Yeah, I think that helps you understand too what the man that you want in your relationship looks for in the female or the partner or male. Like, I'm saying, so you have direction on the man that I wants to feel this way. That doesn't mean you have to change. Like, just asking yourself, do I provide this? Too, because that's reflection on like, hey, I don't provide him a safe place. But that also means that probably he doesn't provide me a safe place in a way, because it works two hands. So if you're closed off in your heart, he's like, your partner's going to feel that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're closed off, they feel that, they're going to close off too. So then there's this like resentment or tension or just awkwardness, or just, I don't feel like I can express myself or be myself or share. And this could be something that arises like through conflict or just through situations in life. So that's something that I do. I always, like, even in friendships, like, ask yourself, am I being open-hearted right now? Or is there some sort of like blockade or wall? And that doesn't have to be because of what they said or did. It could be a trigger that has happened in your past life that has arisen right now.
Yeah.
That is my answer. That's totally not.
I feel like that's a subsect of the question. It's just like diving into the question a little bit more.
I feel like that's also describes you and me.
Yeah. It does.
That's funny.
Yay. Okay, let's see. Next question. This is also a good one. I liked this a lot. So she asked, thoughts on testosterone in men being at an all-time low and the women's birth rate being at an all-time low. So to me, this is like two separate questions, but they also, like, they're interdependent. And I thought, so here are my thoughts. And I just want to clarify, these are only my thoughts. You can have different thoughts. You are free to be. So I think that men's testosterone levels have dropped because of the way that we have been evolving within the lifestyle that our society lives. So there's more sedentary jobs, like more and more men are having like a more high stress, fast paced, sedentary kind of work life. Like you're at a desk or you're in an office, you're in meetings. So you're sitting a lot of the day. You're not getting a lot of movement. And like with that comes maybe not making good nutrition choices. So like poor diet, not moving enough. And all of those things obviously affect your testosterone, but also like psychologically, physiologically. If you're extremely stressed, if you're in a stressed state and you're constantly pumping out cortisol and your body cannot get into a relaxed place, your testosterone is going to lower as well. And then a lot of men will turn to like substances, so alcohol, where there's nothing, and I'm not saying any of this is bad, but as a man, if you go out drinking every night with your buddies, happy hour all the time, alcohol lowers testosterone. So I think a lot of the ways that we've evolved our culture and our society and the world today has just put a decline or a damper on testosterone. And there's also a lot of stress on men. I think that the messaging that they get is that they have to be all of these things. They have to be strong, but also emotionally available and open. And they have to be willing to provide for their woman and listen to her. And all of these things, all of these expectations that have come from like the sexual revolution and also feminism. Not that those things are bad, not saying that, but there has been a lot of pressure put onto men. And at the same time, not a lot of resources or help for them to be able to process that in a healthy way. So I think that's huge. Obviously, obesity like is skyrocketing globally. That is going to put a huge decline on testosterone. If you're overweight, if you're obese, your testosterone is very, very low. You're not driven to do anything. Mental health is huge, especially within men, like I just touched on. And then also, something that I recently learned was like the global population as a whole, and this is also tied into like women's low birth rates, is aging longer. So we live longer, but also the population is getting older. There's more older people than younger right now. And as you age, your testosterone naturally declines. So that could also like play a factor as to why we see the average of testosterone being so low.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my answer on that question.
No, yeah.
on that portion.
I agree with you. Like, yeah. And on, oh my gosh. Oh no. I was gonna say on top of that, I feel like just like we were talking about earlier, when you don't feel good about yourself and your choices and you don't have anything that you're accomplishing, or you feel like something physically isn't what you want or up to par for your standards, not that your partner really cares, like
Mm-hmm.
they care a little bit, but you being 5 pounds overweight, like they're not, versus,
Yeah.
it does play a part in your sex drive, which does play a part in your intimacy with your partner or the opposite sex, or not the opposite, or the person, you know what I'm saying, the individual that you would explore more life with and make more life with. So I do think that has a big part. I also will say, I don't think this has affected anything to the birth rate or any, like this is not what I'm about to say hasn't affected test in men or women's birth rates to be at an all-time low. But within the society today, it is more open to say no to having children than it was in the past generations. The past generations, it was like, no, you're having kids. Like, that's just what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's more so of a choice.
Yeah.
And I think I haven't lived in like the past, I'm still so young, but I will say, I think now, since it's more of a choice, people are looking at, like, for me, for example, I do think older generations would agree, but I don't think they looked at it in the lens of, wow, I could make babies with the person that I love the most in the world, because I want to see, or I want to experience the opportunity to raise a child that we both made together, that's a more so a common look as to why people have children now versus in the past. I think it was more so this is the next step.
Yeah.
Like now it's more intimate of the reason why the kid is being born versus before it was just like a thing that you do.
Yeah. And there's a lot of factors that go into that as well. Like in my opinion, I feel like religion, the sexual revolution, and like liberation of women, so like the invention of hormonal birth control, all of that stuff is super new. I think that religion has probably declined. I guess I can't 100% say that for sure, but like you're talking about in previous generations, there was no birth control. A lot of families were encouraged to get married and have a family. Like it was just, like you said, something that you do. Versus now, there's the choice. And I actually do think that this could tie into women's low birth rates because we are now able to have that choice. We can say, we don't want to have kids right now because we want to pursue personal development. We want to pursue careers. We want to pursue things that maybe past generations of women couldn't. They were just expected to like get married and have kids, you know?
Yeah. On top of that too. So I think we talked about this at dinner 2 nights ago, kind of. We didn't really talk about it. It was like one sentence that came out. I think going into future generations, it's going to be easier to personally develop and become the woman you want to become, whatever that looks like, while still dating a partner or like a masculine man. Because I know personally, and just through observation, my opinion, it seems to be harder to do that when your relationship, like personally grow at the same time you're dating someone. But I think there could be, and there's going to be more in the future of a foundation where you can do both. Like it doesn't have to be this or that. Like you could personally grow, become like whoever you want to become while still being with someone else as a spouse. But I think that takes 2 very emotionally intelligent individuals, like point blank.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work and a lot of being able to recognize that the person you're dating is their own like complex, dynamic, multifaceted being, and they're going to change and evolve. And you have to be able to do that within yourself and be able to communicate that to each other. Because I think sometimes, like, I mean, people listening probably know, like, I went through a lot of growth in a rapid amount of time. And because I did not properly communicate that and my wants and needs and expectations, or whatever you want to call it, like all of those things started to evolve as well. My goals started to change. Who I was started to change. I didn't communicate that properly. It put a lot of stress onto like Zach and I's relationship, because then I was like, well, I want you to grow, but I can't want him to grow. Like he has to want that on his own. And I definitely think he does. But that was like one of the things that we've talked about, is that if we are in the future, if we are to ever reconcile and date again, it has to be as like 2 different individuals, if that makes sense. Like who we were in college is not who we are now. And we met in college. And we know that each of us has areas of growth that we need to undergo and experience. And of course, we could try to do that together, but there's so much history and patterns and cycles and just things that we like fall into so quickly that for us personally, it's easier to do it separate. But that doesn't mean that like in the future, we can't try again. I just think, like you're talking about, in the current state, like culturally, I feel like it is more acceptable to like go on your own personal growth journey, your own like self-healing journey, and then date somebody. But that's not to say that it's not impossible to do it with somebody. It's just, I also don't think many people have that like awareness or that want to do it. They
don't have the emotional intelligence to, and I say, I think it is, because you have to compartmentalize a lot of things, like all of it. You have to compartmentalize everything, like your wants, and especially too, because as you see your partner change and evolve, your desire is to compromise and change, evolve like them. But if that doesn't, you have to sit back and ask yourself, even though I desire that, is that necessarily what I want to do if I didn't have, like, if I were to choose my own pathway?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot.
I would love to do a podcast on that. Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be a good like deep dive. What other questions? Hopefully I feel like that answered.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like women's low birth rates is honestly just women have the opportunity to choose whether they want to do personal work, career work, pursue education,
Mm-hmm.
and they're choosing to have families later on. Also, the cost of living is ridiculous. I feel like people are choosing to have babies later in life, and so maybe that's why the birth rate is so low right now. It's just like we're all waiting, okay?
Mm-hmm.
In 5 years, we might see that boom.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh gosh. Well, that last question. You're not competing this year.
Oh no.
It said, when are we planning on competing this year? Probably the end of the year. You'll see me on stage, November, December, and that's like so tentative. So, at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have one that you want to hit? Like
as our last?
Yeah. As the last one to wrap it up.
What is the biggest lesson? I don't want to say biggest. I'm sorry, I'm going to change your question. That's so funny.
Thank you for your question. We're going to change it.
What is one lesson that stood out to you? Doesn't have to be your biggest. Doesn't have to be like just one that stood out to you about yourself that you learned last year.
I have a pattern that continues to show up in my close friendships that I wasn't aware of until last year. And the lesson is that I have awareness around it now, and I am looking forward to figuring out what the root of that is. What need of mine is being unmet that causes me to continue to engage in this pattern that is not good. That was a lesson that really stood out to me, is like, damn, I've been here before. Here we go again. What's happening?
That's a good lesson. This time you'll learn it.
I caught it before it fully played out.
No, that's important. And it'll take time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'll take like experiencing new friendships and just, watching them. That's a good lesson though.
What was your lesson that stood out?
Man, there's like so many, but I want to share a lesson that I'm learning, which is again changing the question.
It's still 2023.
Okay. Lesson that I'm learning, and I'm learning it, but I'm also very freaking excited that I'm learning it. Is to really like in every facet leave an old identity and move into another one. And that being said, I've always been like, people pleaser, but I was been the nicest, like kindest, like, and I like that about me. Like I'm very kind, but it comes to a point where you don't stand your ground. Like you don't become like strong or independent in the way that I really want to, and a leader that I really want to. And if I want to step into that role for myself as a woman, like just and explore, I think that comes with the femininity. I know for me, not with every individual, for me, that comes with being able to, it's going to allow me to express my femininity as well and like make my own decisions, but also be assertive in more decisions that I could make. And so just identity shifting in terms of you don't always have to be okay with everything. Mm-hmm. Like it's okay to like not agree with something. It's okay to say no. It's okay to actually I don't like that, and I hope that you don't do that again, kind of thing. Yeah. And this is my reason why, but I still love you, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yay.
That is a great lesson. Amazing. Well,
thank you for asking the questions.
Yes. Thank you guys for submitting your Q&A questions. We enjoyed getting to touch on a large range of topics. So hopefully you got some value out of this. If you have anything that you want to chat about, that you agree with, disagree with, literally anything you just want to comment, put that below. DM us, comment, all the things, let us know. And we will catch you guys on the next one.
Boom.